change, body design will change. That is how all these things are connected. Now, these variations, how they are important during the DNA copying. What do? They make their own copy to be able to transfer to the new cell. And then during copying of DNA, due to few, it's actually spelling wrong. Due to biochemical pathways, variation occurs. You might have remembered that we have used the word metabolism. So due to various chemical reaction which happen in our body, so because of that, what happened? The DNA copying will be occurring. So after duplication of DNA, cytoplasm divides and two new cells will be created, and each will be similar but not identical. If they are identical, then we would have called them as the clone. If variation are drastic, the new cells will not survive. That is why variation should not be very, very, very much. Because if the variations are so much, then might be that cells will not survive. Thus, the little variations are caused during the reproduction, and this inbuilt tendency of variation is the basis of evolution. So because of this variation, the evolution will be there. And variations are more in the sexual reproduction. Very, very important, children. That it is very, very important. In the board exam, what do they do to make you confused? They ask you for which kind of they give you the example, like, they give you the maybe the humans example, or might be they give you the amoeba example. And by giving that particular word of that organism, they say that among the amoeba and the humans, which will have more variation and who will be able to survive more. So now you tell me, who will have the better chance of survival in both the cases, the amoeba or the humans?
Amoeba.
Amoeba.
In both the case, amoeba will have the better chance of survival. What do you think, Sumukh? Amoeba will be surviving in a better way, or the humans will be surviving in a better way? Think. See, just last class we have discussed about variation. Who has the variation? Children, give me 1 minute. Good evening, ma'am. So we have discussed like about the variations, right? Children, turn on your video. Now, variations are there. What happened? Changes will be there. Variations are not there. They will be fighting for the food. They will be fighting for the space. Now you tell me, I've given you a lot of hint. Variations are not there. They are going to fight. They are going to fight for the food. They are going to fight for the space. If variations are there, we are not going to fight. We are like not dependent on any certain food. So who has a better chances of survival?
Variation.
Variation will have the better chances of survival, right? Because we have the difference, some of the difference are there in our body, and because of that we can survive. If everybody, if I talk about cat, rat, dog, if we eat the same kind of food, then what happened? The competition will be there, right? Yes or no? Then survival will become very tough, right? So in the case of the asexual and sexual, always keep in mind that sexual reproduction will have the survival in a higher chance. It is because of the variation, because as we are sexual, right? We are the sexual organism. So what do we have? We have the variation, and those who have the variation, they can survive. Whereas in the case of the asexual, since only one parent is involved, so what do? They divide by themselves and they make their exact copy, which is like the clone. So will they survive? No, they will not survive. They will die actually after some time because of the food, because of the competition and all. They will die. That is why we say that if we calculate, if we see between asexual and sexual, the sexual organism will have the better chance of survival because of the variations. If variations are there, survival is there. If no variation, then no survival. Am I clear, children?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
And Sumuk, a metabolism means when all the chemical reaction, whatever is happening in our body, when we add all those chemical reaction together, that is called as metabolism. Okay, sum total of all the chemical reaction which happens in our body, that is called as metabolism. Okay, so we'll just go back. So those who have the variation, they will be surviving in a better way. Chances for their survival become high. So importance of variation. See, the first major point, it promotes survival of species. So because of this, what happened? The survival of the organism will be there. The second thing, the organisms are able to occupy the niche due to consistency of DNA copying. So habitat means a niche, so the place where they live. So due to their place, what happened? They will be constantly copying the DNA because our body is framed in such a way that once the reproduction is done, the DNA copying automatically it will be occurring. It is not like I will be, asking my body that you have to copy the DNA. Nothing like that. Without my instruction, it will be happening automatically. So if all individuals are alike and without variation, and if a habitat changes suddenly due to rise in the temperature, change in water level, or meteorite hit, then population may be wiped out altogether and species will come to an end. That is what we have discussed just now. So if everybody is same without any variation, we all are same, then what happened? We all will wipe out because of all these sudden changes in the temperature, competition in the food, for the food. Fine, and then we will come to an end. But if there are few variants, they may tolerate these changes and would survive. That is the reason we have only little change, and because of that, we are able to survive. Thus, species will not come in. That is why whenever anyone is giving birth to the young ones, what is happening? Due to small change, we are able to survive. But if it is very, very large change, then we won't survive. So reproduction provides stability to population due to the same basic design. So since we have the same basic design, we are able to survive. Just 1 minute. So any doubt, children?
No.
So understood, this concept is very, very clear. Just keep in mind variation, it will lead to evolution. If the variation is there, then chance of survival will be there. If no variation, then no survival because of the competition, because of the rise in the temperature, because of the sudden changes. And these changes, this variation should be less in amount, not much. Because if much in amount, then what happened? Our body will not be able to get it, or it will not be able to adapt it. So small variations we can survive, but much variations we cannot survive. Fine. Now we'll go to the next topic.
Ma'am, so if there are no variations, evolution
Yeah.
will not occur.
No, evolution will not be there. Correct. But what happens? See, like if I talk about the bacteria, if I talk about amoeba or the algae, what happened in their cases? The multiplication In their case, like amoeba, bacteria, algae, what they do, they multiply so faster rate that the evolution does not happen. They do not need any evolution. They do not need any changes. Just what do? They multiply, they survive. Then again, they multiply, the older one, they die. Correct? I think you might have learned about the amoeba, right? So in the case of the amoeba, what do? Their own body, they divide into two halves. Correct? So can you identify now who was the parent? No, you cannot say like this was the
Ma'am, wouldn't
parent.
there be competition for food then?
No competition, because their food is like present everywhere. If I talk about the amoeba, they eat the small organisms which are present inside the water. The algae, they do the same thing. The bacteria, they need the temperature, they need the air, they will be getting it. Same goes for the virus. In the atmosphere, they need it, they are getting it, right? So we have ample of those things. So that is the reason they do not have the competition at all. And you might have seen like algae in the water. Initially, they will be less in number, right? But slowly and gradually, you will see that green color structure will be there all around that pond. The reason why? Because of the multiplication, the faster rate. They multiply. And during the COVID time, you might have heard like, these viruses will disappear during the winter season. Then the winter came, then they said during the summer season, it will disappear. But nothing like that, because their body such a way that they will not die. They are like in the grade 8, your teacher might have taught you about immortal. All the microbes are immortal. What do you mean by immortal? They
They'll
cannot
not face
die.
Then
Fine, they will not die. That is what immortal, and that's the reason that always if you try also not to kill them, you can maybe kill 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe lakhs you can kill, but we have so many, we cannot count them exactly. So it's very tough. But if we talk about the humans, then what happened? We our number is not so good. Correct? If anyone is coming and shooting us, that's it. It's not like again, like zombies will get up and then again we'll do our actions.
8
Is it
billion.
so? We will not
Ma'am,
do that.
ma'am, virus don't have life, ma'am. They just exist inside bodies.
See, that's what actually. But they anyhow they get that host to multiply. Good evening, Riti.
Good evening, ma'am.
Kindly turn on your video, and others also please turn on your video. Fine, understood, children, the concept. What is the concept of this variation and how it leads to the evolution? So, Dhriti, we have started actually the topic reproduction. We discussed about the DNA copying, what it is and why it is important. And then we have discussed about the variation, which type of the organism will have the variation. So, variations are what? They are the changes which every generation the organism will be getting. Fine. So, generation by generation, the small changes will be there. Those changes are called as variation. And ultimately, so many variations or so many generations after, it leads to the formation of new species, which is called as a evolution. Fine. So Dhriti, you might be knowing like the earlier we were like born from the chimpanzees, we were circulated by the chimpanzees, all those gorillas, right? Same way now we are here, slowly generation by generation some changes will be happening, and then ultimately we will not be on the earth, some other species will be surviving. So which is what the evolution is. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
So now we'll go to the next topic, which are the differences between the sexual and the asexual reproduction. Is my screen visible, children?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. So,
No, ma'am, it is not visible.
not visible.
It's
Let me
not
share it
visible,
again.
ma'am.
Ma'am, it's black.
Let me share it again. Now is it visible?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Okay. So talking about first of all, let us talk about the sexual. So we have started with the reproduction. We have discussed the definition of it. Now the types we should start with. So basically two types are there. The first one is the asexual reproduction, and The second one is the sexual reproduction. Find two types of reproduction are there, sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. Dhriti, what do you understand by asexual reproduction? Dhriti,
Yeah, ma'am.
what do you understand by asexual reproduction?
It's a human reproduction.
No, asexual. I'm talking about this one, asexual reproduction.
Yeah.
Okay, Abhinav, what do you understand by that?
Ma'am, a reproduction in which involves only one parent
Okay, fine,
and
good.
clones.
Okay, correct, correct. So, let us discuss first of all the definition of these two. Sexual reproduction is a kind of reproduction where it involves only a single parent for the reproduction. So if they want to reproduce, so how many parents do they need? They need only one parent. And this one parent, you cannot identify that whether it is a female or whether it is a male. So they do not have the differences. So they are just called as a parent because we cannot identify whether they are male or whether they are female. Whereas in the sexual reproduction, how many parents are involved? Two. So it involves two parents. So for the reproduction, they involve two parents. And what are those parents called as?
Male and female.
Male and female. Fine. So two types of reproduction are there, asexual and sexual. In the category of this asexual, it involves only one parent for the reproduction, where we cannot identify the sex of that parent. Whereas the sexual, it involves two parents, which are the male and female. Okay. So this is the first point. So involves only a single parent and it involves two parents. Coming to the second topic, second point, faster mode of reproduction. As I told you, within the seconds itself, they will be multiplying, multiplying, multiplying. So that is why we say that asexual is very fast mode. Whereas in the sexual reproduction, it is much slower. So I think you must be aware how much days or how many weeks or how many months the humans take for giving birth.
Approximately 9 months.
Correct. Approx 9 months, right? So see how long they are taking. They're taking 9 months. So day one, day two, day three, or then it'll be week one, week two, week three, week four, week five. So likewise, the humans will be giving birth almost like around in the 9 months. Whereas if we talk about the asexual reproduction, where only one parent is there, so what happens? They will not wait for anyone. They just multiply. They divide their own body and they form the new individual. So those two individuals now which are formed, again they do the same thing, they divide. But in our case, can we do that same thing? No, right? So that is what who we have. We have, the male and female. A male need a female and female need a male for the process. So both they need each other for the reproduction. In the absence of anyone, it cannot be done. But in the asexual, it can be done completely by one parent. And we cannot say whether it is a male, female, just we call them as a parent. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
We'll go for the third point now. Is the screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now
No,
third
ma'am.
point. No.
Ma'am, it is black, ma'am.
Okay, let me share it again. The third point, as already mentioned, in the case of the asexual, the variations are not produced. It means the changes are not there. Now, why the changes are not there? Because only one parent is there. Now, if only one parent is there, how they are going to produce a change, right? Since only one parent is there, no changes. And if no changes, then no variation. Clear? Whereas in the sexual, two parents are there. That is why the variations will be produced. Some of the variations will be there from the mother, some will be there from the father. And that is the reason you have the sum of the characters from the mother and some from the father. So variations are produced as the zygote has the genetic material of both the parent. So when the mother or the father, when they have the sexual intercourse, or when the male and the female, they have the sexual intercourse, so during that time what happened? The mother, in the mother's body, the zygote will form, and that zygote has the character of both the mother and the father. And fourth point, occurs only by mitotic division. It means in them, the division which takes place is the equational division. Equally, they are dividing. Whatever the number of chromosomes are there, equally they are dividing. Whereas in the sexual reproduction, what do? They will be produced by the meiotic division. Meiotic means half. So suppose the female has 24 chromosome and the male also has 24 chromosome. So what do? They will divide them into 12 and 12 by the process of meiosis. Fine. Whatever the number of chromosome the female or the male has, what do? Through the meiosis, the process, they will divide them into 12 and 12. Now this 12 of the female and this 12 of the male will join together and give rise to whom? To the child. Am I clear, children? So this child has the same number as like the mother and the father, but what happened? The characters are there from the mother also, from the father also, and that is why this meiosis is very important. So male has 24, the female has 24. They will be dividing themselves into half and half, so that one of half will be passed from the female to the child, and the second half from the male will be passed to the child. Clear, children?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes.
This is the reason the child has the character of the mother also and the father also. Both the characters he has or she has. So, but in the asexual, it does not happen, right? Only one parent, so no variation, no changes, and they themselves they divide the body. That is why we say that it is a equational division. But in sexual, they will divide into half, and then that they half chromosome they pass to their kids. The next one, the different types of asexual reproduction are there, which are fission, budding, or fragmentation. These we will be learning in a very detailed way in the upcoming classes. And then the sexual reproduction, it occurs by the haploid gamete, which joins to form a diploid zygote. Now, I'll just explain you what do you mean by haploid and diploid. So two names are there, haploid and diploid. Haploid means N. Okay, haploid means N, which means N denotes a single set of chromosome. Okay, what does N denotes here? Single set of chromosome. Whereas diploid, it means 2N. So how many sets are there in this 2N?
Two sing,
Two separate.
Two sets. Okay, two sets of chromosome. So in the case of the haploid, a single set of chromosome will be present, and in the case of the diploid, two sets of chromosomes are present. Now, see, if I go back here, I have written 12. It is haploid condition or diploid condition? Yes, children, this 12 is haploid condition or diploid condition here?
diploid.
Any other answers? Dhriti, Ayonija, Shayan, Moksha, Kashvi, Pranaya.
Diploid.
Diploid, this is, are you sure?
Ma'am, haploid.
This is haploid, children. Only one set of chromosome is there. This is one set, right? Now, this one set and this one set of the father, they join together and what they have formed? What set of
Diploid.
chromosome? Diploid set of chromosome. Okay. So this 12 and 12 are the haploid, single set of chromosome. When the mother and the father, both of the chromosome, they join together, this condition is the diploid here, which is 2n. Am I clear now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
That
ma'am.
is what the
Yes, ma'am.
haploid and diploid. Haploid means the single set of chromosome. Diploid means two sets of chromosomes. Fine. More also we'll be learning in the upcoming classes when we talk about the sexual reproduction. Now the next one, individual formed are genetically identical to the parent. So since only one parent is involved, that is why they will be same, exactly same, or we can say they are the clone of their parents. Whereas in the case of the sexual, they are not genetically identical to their parent. They will just resemble them. They will be somehow similar to them. Some maybe characters are same to them, but not exactly the same. Fine, children? So these are the differences, and these differences are very, very important for the exams. So one parent is involved, two parents are involved. Faster mode of reproduction, slower mode of reproduction. No variation, variation. It is of different type like the fission, budding, and fragmentation. Sexual is of the haploid and the diploid. Then the asexual occurs by the mitotic only, whereas the sexual will have the both, which is meiotic and the mitotic. And then asexual will be genetically similar to their parents, whereas sexual will be resembling to their parents, but not exact identical to their parents. So clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So in the next class, now we will be starting about the different types of the asexual reproduction, which are about the budding, fission, fragmentation, regeneration, spore formation, and vegetative propagation. So many different types of the asexual methods are there. One by one, we will be discussing them in the class. And children, at the same time, whatever the competency-based question I'm sending you in the group, it is not just to keep it, but to read it out, okay? To read it at least once or twice so as to understand it. And if in case whatever, question is being asked in the exam, you can attend it. Okay? Everybody can leave except Dhriti.
Thank you,
Okay.
ma'am. Bye,
Thank you,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Welcome.
Thank you,
Bye,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Bye, ma'am.
Welcome.
Bye, bye.
Bye-bye.
Ma'am, I have a small doubt.
Yeah, Sudhamshu, tell me.
Ma'am, you said the chromosomes of female and male will divide in like 24 will become 12 and both will give up to one child.
Right.
So what happens if it's a twin?
What happens to the?
If it's a twins, there are
It,
twins.
see, what happens? Twins actually, the number of chromosome remains the same. So 12 from the mother, 12 from the father. It goes into the same egg, okay? Same zygote it will go. But what happened once that zygote is formed, it divides into two. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, welcome. Welcome, Sudhamshu. So, Dritya, have you understood today what happened in the class?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, if any concern is there, anything is there, do let me know through the message. And the
Yes.
same way now you should join the maths class, okay? So you have to
Yeah.
go to the WISE app, then write that ID and then join it.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Oh, I think this chapter is there, right, in your class? You
Yeah,
have
yeah,
this chapter, right? Exactly the same chapter is there in your book also.
yeah.
Okay, Dhriti, okay. And just go through the content also of the WISE app. When you open the WISE app, there will be a tab called as the content. Under the content, you will be able to see all the material of the classes, okay? Whatever the class I have taken for the bio, it will be there. If you want me to send you personally also, I'll share with you.
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay? Okay. Okay,
Okay,
dear.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye-bye.